We are live. iKON FC2 Miami. I know we normally do UFC, and don't worry, we still are doing the UFC right after this. I just wanted to do a quick preview. I like a couple of the fighters that are up and coming on this iKON card. So I wanted to just do a little quick preview, shout them out. The new age of talent in MMA. I don't know why they started over because I'm pretty sure iKON went up to like 6, but I think George Masvidal bought the company, so I think they started over. They went one first event since he bought it. This will be a second event since he bought it. Main event's going to be SD Dumas versus Aaron Highbaugh. Aaron Highbaugh is 9-5 as a professional. Most recent fight was decision loss to Jared Gooden in January. That was the first iKON card. He's got a combined record of opponents of 86, 49, and 1. He's 9-3 as an amateur, and he lost to Chaos Williams in 2015. He lost 3 out of his 5 fights via TKO, and he's going up against a really, really talented striker in SD Dumas. SD, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a, I don't know what you want to call it, like a fast track to the UFC or a fast track to Bellator or something like that, because he is very, very talented. He's very exciting to watch. He's got a 100% finish rate, 4 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. Combined record of his opponents, though, is 9-17 in his professional career. So he hasn't fought the most talented guys. He went 8-1 as an amateur, fighting guys got wins over guys like Shlomo Boyd, Heath Herndon, and then Mike Lee. He's ranked number 86 in the U.S. middleweight or in the middleweight division in the United States. And he's the same height as Highbaugh, but he's got a 4-inch reach advantage over him, which I think is going to play very key into this fight. I think SD Dumas is going to come in with a very high volume of striking. Highbaugh, of course, getting knocked out in 3 out of his 5 losses. I don't see it going very long for Highbaugh. SD Dumas, I'm just going to shout him out one more time. This guy's 5-0. I'd say by the time he gets to 8 to 10-0, somewhere in that range, he's in the UFC and he is winning fights, and he is he's getting himself kind of a Paddy Pimblett type of hype behind him at that point in his career, I believe. We'll see. Only time will tell, but he's got that kind of talent, and I really, really, really think that his ceiling is crazy high. He can defeat himself. You know what I mean? He did struggle a little bit with wrestling. I don't remember the guy's name. I think it was his last or second to last amateur fight. He fought for CFFC, Cage Fury Fighting Championships. I forget the dude's name, but he had a hard time with the wrestling. But, Highbaugh, I don't think that Highbaugh is going to come in and be crazy wrestling dominant. So I got SD Dumas pretty easily. Keith Richardson, South Carolina legend in MMA, is going up against Hunter Azor, who will be making his first fight since the UFC. He went 2-2 in the UFC. Like I said, it's going to be his first fight since. He's 9-2 professionally. Only 2 losses were TKO to Brian Kelleher and a split decision loss to Jack Shore. I don't know if that's enough to get you released, man. I think his release was probably a little premature. Brian Kelleher, just fought Nurmagomedov, although he lost. It's a high-profile fight, so they think a lot of Kelleher. And then, of course, Jack Shore is one of the fastest rising young stars in the UFC. His biggest career wins over Brad Katona and Cole Smith, both of those being in the UFC. Keith Richardson, man, 22-11, currently on a 3-fight winning streak with finishes over Mekshak Adams, Daniel Strauss, former Bellator champion at XMMA 3, and then Jesse Bazzi back in February. So he's fighting maybe a month and a half, a little over a month since his most recent fight. He is the number 1 ranked bantamweight in South Carolina and North Carolina. He's ranked number 7 in the United States. And through his 33-fight career, he's fought guys like Nate Landwehr, Charles Rosa, Tony Gravely, Damon Blackshear. So although he hasn't fought in the UFC, he has fought plenty of guys that have eventually made it to the UFC. The talent on his resume is insane. 22-11. He's got kind of a Nate Diaz-esque record. So, of course, a guy like that's on the regional scene is not really going to get much love from the big promotions. But, I mean, damn, this guy's fought crazy talented fighters, 22 wins, 12 wins by submission, 2 out of 5 of his losses via knockout, and he also has 5 submission losses. So he's been finished in 7 of his... We can't have... Oh, he's 2-5 by knockout. I wrote that down. He's 2-5 by knockout. And he's got 5 submission losses. So out of his 11 fights, he's been finished in 10 of those. And he only has 14 out of his 22. So when the fight goes to a decision, I think he is 8-1 when the fight goes to a decision. So crazy cardio, really good gas tank. I can't wait to see what he's going to do up against Hunter Azor. And, it's going to be biased. I'm going to pick Richardson. But Hunter Azor is no joke, man. He's a guy that legitimately should be in the UFC right now. And he's looking to try to make his way back there. Eduardo Diaz is taking on Justin Scoggins. Both of these men coming off a 2-year layoff. Scoggins' most recent fight, August of 2019, with a decision win over Kuzma Son at Risen 18. Diaz's last fight, I think, August 2019. But that was a decision win over Joe Penifel at Island Fights 58. Diaz 8-1. Only professional loss was a decision to Carlos Galindo in 2013. He will come into this fight with a slight size advantage over Scoggins, and 5 out of 8 of his wins via decision. So great gas tank on Diaz. Scoggins 12-6 as a pro. One of his most recent, like we talked about, one of his most recent fight, went 4-5 in the UFC when he was there. He's got wins over Ray Borg, Richie Velichuk. Ray Borg and Richie Velichuk. His key losses in the UFC were against Pedro Munoz, Dustin Ortiz, and Sadnar Magomedov. So 3 out of those 5 losses against guys that are still pretty prominent in the UFC. I guess Dustin Ortiz might not be there anymore. And I think Pedro Munoz either is on his way out or might be out now. But Sadnar Magomedov is definitely on his way up in the UFC. And Scoggins did pretty good in his UFC career. 4-5. I mean, you get a guy that just got released 2-2. 4-5. I can see why he got released, but again, he's fighting in that division is killers in that division, especially at the time that he was in the UFC, that 2015 range. It's insane. 6 wins by knockout, 5 wins by decision. He's never been knocked out, and he's been submitted in 4 out of 6 of his losses. So I don't know much about Eduardo Diaz's ground game, his grappling or submission game or anything like that. But I'd say that's his best path to victory. It's going to be another war. Justin Scoggins coming out of South Carolina. I'm just going to have to go with, or North Carolina, wherever he's really from. I'm going to have to go with the hometown guy there and go Scoggins as well. Here's another guy that I think, first of all, I didn't get a chance to speak with him yet leading up to this, but if this is true, it's insane. He's got 2 fights. Aman Cosme, Cosme, Cosme. Amun Cosme will be fighting on Friday for iKON. We'll be fighting Alexei Fedoseev. And then he'll be fighting the next day on the 18th against David Deserakov at Freedom Fight Night. Both events taking place in Miami. The Freedom Fight Night is the Tito Ortiz versus Rampage Jackson card. So I wanted to reach out to him to see if it's a grappling match or what it may be. But if those are 2 fights back to back, you got fights lined up night after night. That's pretty intense, man. I mean, I guess it all kind of depends on how unscathed you come out of the first fight, but still, I mean, that's pretty badass. He's 3-0 as a pro. He went 5-0 as an amateur. This kid is no joke. He's got 1 win by submission at his professional debut against Jesse Hackett at NFC 123. And both his other wins are decision wins over Mike Wilson at NFC 131 and then Alexander Shenik at iKON FC 1. And that fight is where I kind of said, damn, this guy's got skills because he is a tough fucking guy. He's got great striking, and he could take a punch, man. He could take a really good beating and give it right back. He's the number 9 ranked featherweight in Georgia, and he's the 245th ranked featherweight in the United States. He's got a slight size advantage over Fedozeev. Fedozeev is 2-0 as a pro, 3-1 as a professional kickboxer. Has a decision win over G1 Go at Road FC 56, and then a submission win over Dozbol Elgin at EFC 38. He's ranked 14th as a bantamweight in South Korea and 91st as a bantamweight in Central Asia. I don't really got much to say about him. I don't know much about him, don't know enough about him to speak. I've never seen any of his fights, but I've definitely seen Cosme's fight. I've seen a bunch of his amateur fights, and then I've seen the most recent one, Alexander Shenik, because it was on iKON. So, I mean, it's a lot easier to watch when it's on iKON than NFC. But that dude's got mad skills, crazy good skills. And I think him and SD Dumas are both, Keith Richardson, he's a veteran. He's a guy, I'd say he's a guy to watch out for, but, how long does he got left? He's not going to have a Travis Fulton type of career, I don't think. So, I don't know if he's a guy to watch out for, but this guy, Amun Cosme, and SD Dumas are two guys to really, really, really watch out for. And this is what I think is weird too. I'm sorry, I'm going off task now. They announced all 5 of these fights, right? And I was like, damn, it's a pretty short card. It's only 5 fights on the card. And then as of one day ago, so on a Monday of a card that's on a Friday, they've added 3 different fights to this card. We've got David Gladfelter versus Daniel Compton, middleweight bout. We have Monte Morrison versus Tyrus Thomas, catchweight bout. I don't know what weight it's at. They didn't specify. And then we have Brandon Boss Hog Johnson versus Miami native and world record fastest knockout holder, Yuli Diaz. Yuli Diaz, I'm glad to see Yuli Diaz on the card, but I mean, this shit was posted 15 minutes ago. It's Tuesday. The fight's on Friday. You guys are just getting deals done on a fucking Tuesday? Hey, man. Shout out Jorge Masvidal. Shout out Dean Toole. I know you guys are working over there. I don't know if there was maybe a couple other fights that fell out and you're looking for replacements or what happened, but I think it's pretty cool that you guys are making fights a couple of days before the fights because, or a couple days before the card because 5 fights on the card is kind of slim, man. How are you going to really sell somebody to buy it when there's only 5 fights? You're going to pay the same amount you would pay for a full card for 5 fights. You're not going to do it. But shout out to iKON FC 2 Miami. Shout out George Masvidal. Shout out Dean Toole. Shout out SD Dumas. And shout out my boy Moon Cosme. Brother, I know if I'm saying your name wrong, correct me, brother, but it's hard. And normally after I'm done recording, I normally look at the names. I'm like, oh, I'm so stupid. That's how you pronounce that. But, I mean, if I'm wrong, I got to be close. Amun, Cosme, Cosme, something like that. Either way, hit me up. Cosme, maybe the E is silent, but let me know, brother. Either way, shout out to those guys. iKON FC, stay barbecued. Stay tuned. In a couple of minutes, we'll be going live for the UFC preview. Holla at you, Doug.